All right. Good evening, everyone. Everybody having a good evening? Happy evening. Welcome to Shenanigans. Kathy, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Doing
How are you?
good?
Yeah, good.
I'm good.
Getting
Good.
closer to the holidays, so
That's a
a
dirty
little
word right now.
stressed about that, but it'll work out. It always does.
Oh, you're cutting up a little bit.
I'm cutting up.
Maybe just on my end. I don't know. Maybe everybody else can see you. Just find it kind of cuts in out for me. We'll keep going. It's not a big deal. Have you started decorating for Christmas yet?
No, I haven't. I'm
Yeah.
making some things, but I haven't decorated anything yet. So
I have not decorated either, but I think normally I wait until the day after Thanksgiving. That's kind of my ritual to get the
mm,
tree up and do all that great fun jazz. But I think this year, because Bo is going to do Thanksgiving, which is going to be just me, him, and the kids, I think I'm actually going to pull the Christmas decorations out earlier than normal and give it a try. I usually don't like doing that because Thanksgiving is my
yeah,
favorite holiday, but I didn't put any of my fall decorations out.
I want to put them out, but nobody else will let me. So I've got to wait till. I said the day after Thanksgiving, though, I'm gonna get at it. I'm not
That's that,
waiting.
that's typically how I do it. It's how I like to do it. That's all right. So the chat is already kind of going crazy. We've got some of our repeat offenders are in the house, Patrick and Texas Bluebonnets. And I know I saw, who else did I see in the chat? Let me look over here. Because my other screen's a pain. Mama J, Irish. Let's see. I know Run for Justice and Yep and Kari are all doing mod work tonight. So thank you very much. They're going to keep the bad people out. I don't know that we have any bad people, but I know I'd like for bad people to show up and make these people earn their wrenches. That would be awesome. But, well, whatever. We've got a good crowd. I haven't seen CB or Cash in a while, so would really like to see them. Hello, Sarah. I don't recognize your name, so welcome. I think actually you're probably new to the. Did I see you join the Facebook page? Is that maybe that's why your name seems a little bit familiar to me? And then Husker are in. Welcome, you guys. Hopefully you have some fun in the chat tonight. Where is I don't know, Yip, what does that mean with Cash? I don't know where he's at, but I'd like to see him. Anyway, so I'll just keep an eye on the chat and he'll show up. But this is Shenanigans. Some of you know what this is all about. You've been here before. You know that we just kind of open up the conversation and talk about a specific theme for the evening. And so this is, I always like to remind everybody, this is not what you would consider a safe space. Most people would not consider this a safe space. We're not going to be protective or anything like that. This is an open conversation. And what we find out is that most people find it to be very healing. Hi, Katie. I actually saw you as you got to the studio. I didn't have to make you wait and have to like get my attention. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you? How are you guys?
I'm
We're
good.
good.
Doing good. We just got started. We actually started on time, which is really, really weird for us. And so,
We didn't have
but
any technical difficulties. Knock on wood.
right? I mean,
Not
give it
bad.
time. Something's bound to happen. We'll just
Yeah.
we'll just expect it. But I was just going through what Shenanigans was. We are not a safe space. We're an open space. Everybody can be themselves. If you are a jerk or you tend to be the one they call the asshole, please lead with that before you go commenting so we know it's not an us problem, it's a you problem. That way we're understanding. It's totally cool. And we totally encourage you to be yourself here. Everything is open for discussion, all opinions. We don't have to like it. That's fine. You can be active in the chat. You can lurk in the background. We prefer you be just in the chat with us. And if you want, actually, let me post the link. So what I'm doing right now is I'm posting a link in the chat. And so if you feel Fisk and fine enough, you can click on that link and it's going to be staying there at the top of the chat. And that will let you come into the studio with us and you can chit chat that way. And you don't have to go on camera. You can, but make sure your microphone works or it doesn't really make sense. So, but tonight I wanted to talk about what are perspectives, what you guys think, what your opinions are when it comes to talking to someone outside of your marriage in our case, since I know all of us have male partners, male spouses, and so I guess it would be if you were, do you feel comfortable, and is your other half comfortable with you talking to another male outside the marriage? And if so, what are those boundaries? Do you feel comfortable with him talking to another woman outside the marriage? And what are those boundaries? So I want to open that up. And the reason being, is I found a couple of new groups. And I've seen somebody who posted, my cousin has been dating this guy for 7 years, and she's getting the impression that he may be talking to somebody else, another woman. So she wanted to find out. And instead of just asking him, now she didn't say if she addressed this with him or not. She just came into this group of all women saying, can I get some of you blondes, not brunettes, blondes, because he prefers blondes, to just message him and see if he'll talk with you, to see what he will do with you. And some women responses were, honey, if you are in that position where you have to come to a group of strangers to test him out, leave, get out, you're done. And other people are like, go talk to him one-on-one, whatever your problems are, go work it out that way. And then other women were like, got your back, sister, PM me, let me do this for you. And I thought, well, this is interesting. So that's what entrapment. So that's what I want to find out, is what are your guys' views on this? Is this okay? Would you go to Facebook even do that? Or and this isn't about being judgy. We're all going to handle it differently. But I thought, wow, that's an interesting, I don't know.
Well, I am just going to say something real, and I know Kathy has some stories. I have some other stories, but the number one story of mine that comes to mind, this is my previous marriage. And I mean, we were young-ish. I mean, we weren't like 21 or anything. This is, you're 25, 26, whatever. And he was already a kind of a controlling, a controlling guy, and didn't hide it well through me anyway. But there was a gentleman that I worked with when I first started this company, and some people you click with and you just have that relationship with. It could be male or female, but we just clicked. We were the same. I considered him like my brother, and like we could joke around, we could do whatever. And we did spend a lot of time together because we worked very closely together at work.
Right.
And, would go have, lunch together. Well, I'll start this one point and then I'll finish with this. I knew that he was controlling and possessive. And it was my fault. Like, I was in an area where my friend was there, and I answered the phone, and I lied. Like, I told him I was by myself, but then he heard my friend, which he is my, then it just got kind of escalated quickly because I did lie to him, but there was reason to lie. Like, we were just in the office, so anyway, we went through this back and forth with my friend, and it got to the point where he just forbid me, like, just because he thought something was going on, and nothing was going on at all. And it was a huge, we're now divorced, but forbid me. It was a huge fight. I had to leave the house and actually called my friend, and he was like, you know what, Katie, if this is going to cause this much, these many issues in your marriage, then I will just be your friend from afar. I get, like, he respected but I'm like, there was absolutely nothing going on. And it just killed me because he was my best friend at that point, but nothing was going on. So, I know that there's everything in between as far as, because after that, my friends, my coworkers, they did tell me, well, first of all, there was some cheating going on in the office. And I think that they thought that myself and my friend were cheating because they knew it was going on, but it was not going on between us. So they jumped to the conclusion and just kind of assumed, which is a whole other thing. But anyway, that's one of my stories.
So you say the controlling thing. I find that interesting. I'm in a relationship today where I do have male friends. Some are closer than others. One is like my brother, and we hang out. He'll come over to the house. He's just newly divorced. He's got a couple of young kids. So when and he's got an unusual situation until the house sells. They're just divorced. And so he'll come over here and we'll have a couple of drinks and, we'll talk life, we'll talk adulting, we'll talk old work life, whatever. But my beau knows who he is. He's met him. He's good friends with him. And we've had these discussions. This guy's not a threat at all. They're really great friends. Then I've got a couple of guy friends that I'll meet occasionally for a lunch or something, maybe a coffee and catch up. It's only a few times a year. I don't see them. And we have to actually schedule something to see one another. We don't just see each other in passing, like at the grocery store, something like that. Beau's fine with that too. He hasn't met those two. I think there's actually 2 or 3, but there's 2 that I specifically see throughout the year. He's never met them, but he still doesn't consider them to be a threat. And then there's guys I just, talk to from afar, only through text, because that's the only time we ever get to talk, and not a big deal. The person before Beau was a complete control freak. I could have no male friends. He even didn't like one of my brothers and demanded that I get him off my Facebook. I couldn't talk to anybody without his permission. And anybody that did talk to me that had a penis wanted to use that penis on me. In his mind, he's like, that's the only reason he's talking to you is because he wants to screw you. I'm like, that dude's my cousin. That's not. Or when my brother and I went to go visit one of my older brothers, he's in Iowa, and there's my cousin Robin took a picture of me and my brother Chase, and it's an endearing brother sister pose, and everybody who knows me knows, oh, she went to go see her brother. It must be her brother. I mean, he's ungodly tall like me. And my ex threw a raging fit that I was going to sleep with the guy in the photo. I'm like, it's my brother. Well, I don't care. Take the photo off of Facebook. Don't talk to him. Like, I couldn't have any male friends. Just nothing was okay in that one. Robin says, oh, I remember him. Yeah, he made I think he called me like 20 some times in 5 minutes because he was so upset with the photo. So I think the control thing maybe has something to do with it. What do you think, Kathy?
Same situation.
I know, and I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, you do.
Yes, I do. I know that one personally.
My experiences were stemmed from office settings too, Katie. So I think part of that was jealousy of friendships that I was making outside of him because he wasn't able to control that. So anything that I did in office that he wasn't privy to, it was an accusation at that point. So it got really bad to the point of him stalking their Facebook pages, their social media, trying to find information on these people he's never met, but they're my work colleagues of happen to be male figures. And it even happened to some females that I had good friendships with in the office where he would completely go off track with, assumptions and accusations that people were in a coup with me. And, it was just asinine. Even neighborhood friends, if Terry, you know who I'm not going to mention the name, but you'll know about the neighbor across the street.
Yep.
My ex accused him of positioning the garage in a way that he could look over into our yard when I would do yard work, or it was just completely stupid, just insecurity, jealousy, and anybody really, not just in my case, it wasn't just in male figures, it was anybody I had a relationship, but the male figure had more pronounced, issues with him. So, it made life really shitty because I couldn't have any life outside of my house. No friends, always arguing about who's that on your Facebook, in work colleagues or whatever. And it was bad. One of the main issues of our marriage was the jealousy and the insecurity with the people I had relationships with outside of our marriage. So it made it really difficult. And now I'm in a marriage where it's healthy and normal and no jealousy and no control. And it's just like, what?
Yeah, right. He's a stark difference from your ex.
It is.
He's
It's
wonderful.
polar opposite. And
what was funny about that with your ex is I remember the first time I met you and your ex in person. We were at as a children's birthday party, and I was not allowed to approach you. I remember that specifically. I'm a female, and I was not allowed to come near you. I would try to, because I wanted to introduce myself, and because I'd seen you and I knew of you, and I was like, oh, I finally get this chance to meet her, and this will be great. And he cut me off at the pass, but he was very flirty and very friendly. And hey, what do you do? And how are you doing? And tell me about how many kids you have, and are you single? What's going on? Like all these questions. And it wasn't like an interrogation. Like it was uncomfortable. And I was like, he is a controlling, raging, insecure individual.
Yeah, that's what it is. These people just they're insecure with whatever it is, and you've done everything you can to prove that it's complete bullshit. That the reasons why they're insecure, because you've given them no reason to believe anything different. It's their issue that they have to deal with, and unfortunately, my ex never got help for it. So he's now in a new relationship where he's doing the same thing, from rumor has it. So,
right.
Yeah, it's hard. So, Katie, I met you years and years and years ago, and we hung out quite often in the beginning. We were, what was that, in our 30s or so? And same thing. I dropped relationship because of the insecure, controlling behaviors of my ex-husband. So I know this topic is around opposite sex or opposite of your partner, but it really doesn't have to be. It's just any kind of relationship that you have outside of your partnership that you have. Your friendships can be in jeopardy because of it, because of their problems. Yep. So,
well, they fear, because yes, I do remember when we met, and we kind of just dropped off. And then when I picked stuff back up, that's when I kind of heard about what was going on. And I was kind of shocked when you told me.
Actually, both of you, when you heard through the grapevine of things going on, both of you reached out to me, and you both did. And I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry. I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful.
I was so happy. I know you're going to be crying. I was so happy when I heard the news that marriage was falling apart. And it sounds terrible to say, but I thought finally, and I even second guessed my reaching out because I hadn't even gotten to really meet you or get to know you. And I thought, man, she'll probably only think, like, I think I'm after something. Like, she's probably going to get this bad idea about it. But I'm like, no, I'm just going to go for it. I'll just do what I normally do. And I invited her out to a girls' dinner, and she showed up, and then just, it was a different feel. Your vibe was completely like you were free, and you were much better.
I was free. It took a long time to understand what that meant, understand that feeling of not having that controlling presence constantly circling your whole entire life. But yeah, it's a good feeling. So I know everybody's experiences and preferences are different when it comes to how they handle relationships outside of their marriages or their partnerships. But in my case, it was the drastic side of things. So anyway.
So with you being in a more healthy marriage today, and Katie, you two, have you guys resumed relationships with your platonic male friends?
You can go ahead, Katie. I've been talking too long.
No,
you're good. Stop it.
I was just going to say that, like you mentioned earlier, as far as, you're in a healthy relationship, total different guy, which is where I'm at. And not, I remember dating him and not jealous whatsoever. I mean, I just was like, and I almost was like, not offended, but like, you're not jealous at all? Like,
I know exactly what you mean.
because you're
I get
used to it.
you're used to it. You're conditioned to feel that way. And so you're not getting that from your new person, from your new partner or new husband. You kind of think you're crazy. It almost makes you feel crazy. And you're always, or at least for me, I'm second guessing. Sometimes I still, to this day, even though things are great, I still question or second guess. And I have doubts about some things, but that's just because of my experiences and what I went through. It has nothing to do with my husband now. It's and the reassurance is always there, and that's always, helpful to have the reassurance from your healthy relationship.
Well, yeah, and that's why you have to go in, which I've had conversations. I mean, my husband's ex was off the rocker, a little bit, insecure and all kinds. So we were kind of in the same boat, but a little different. It's very important to have conversations with your partner, your new husband, whatever, just to lay and we honestly haven't had this conversation, Aaron and I, like, as far as, I mean, I know I mention my guy friends all the time, and I will tell him what guy friends are telling me. And let me just tell you, there's some things that I wish I did not hear in my ear holes. Like, they tell me things that I do not want to know. But I'm a good friend, and they know that they can tell me. And then I, tell my husband, and he knows them. He's met them. I think it's a different situation where you don't know who it is, that they're hanging out with. They've not met them. You haven't talked about them. My husband, I don't know. He doesn't have any friends, so I don't know. No, I kid. He has friends.
Be nice.
He's like, I'm all the friend he needs.
No,
he doesn't need any more friends than me. Well, so that's and I know, like, with Bo, like, he isn't having insecurities, with guys, and I'm a social person. He knows that. You guys know that about me. I can talk to just about anybody. Now, that's been interesting in the past. Hi, Patrick. We're going to come right back over to you, so don't worry. We're not ignoring you. I see you. But my personality, I know that can be very threatening to somebody who has insecurities, and Bo's not like that with one of my exes. And I'll be very bluntly honest, and there's probably some individuals that know who he is. My second ex-husband, well, both my ex-husbands were insecure to some degree or another. There was rarities when there was controls in that fashion, but there was an individual with my second husband. There's two specific occasions where maybe he should have stepped in. Like, the first time was at a bar. We'd been to Wichita for one thing or another, and we stopped over at a bar here in Derby, and we're sitting down having a drink, and he orders a drink and I order one. We sit down, and he finishes his drink, and I'm about halfway through my beer, and this guy comes up that I had just met. He was a DD for another guy that I knew here in town. And he's like, hey, can I buy you a drink? But he walked up to me at the table and put his back to my husband. And I was like, no, I'm good, but I think my husband could use another drink. Because, oh, your husband. Oh, I didn't realize who that was. And my ex-husband didn't do anything about it at the time, and still he never did. And I was really kind of upset. I'm like, God, what kind of door did you open to other people saying you can just communicate that way to Tara in front of him? And then there was another occasion, again, me being super social, treating everybody the way I think I treat everybody fairly the same. I was propositioned by a person that I consider to be a friend. We'd go out to lunch once a month, and our boys were friends. And there was one lunch. He's like, hey, so what are we doing here? And it's like, eating. And this guy would text. We text all the time, would call and catch up, whatever. So we were fairly close, and we do family stuff together. And he's like, no, I mean, like, where do you want to take this?
Take what?
Right. I was like, I'm going to go back to work. I don't know where you're going, but I'm going back to what's happening here. And he had just gotten out of, I don't know if you would call it an affair, a situationship, but he was inappropriately sleeping with the wrong woman. Right. So he tells me this, and I'm like, oh, okay. I I don't know what to do with this information. Like, it's not my information to have. And he's like, well, she's gone. So I was kind of looking for somebody to fill her shoes and was curious if you wanted to be that person. Well, that was the weirdest way to ask me to have an affair. Okay, creativity, check. I'll give you credit for that. I'm like, no, I'm good. And on that note, I think we're also done. Like, we're not going to be doing lunches anymore, and we're not going to be texting anymore. Like, we're not going to do family stuff anymore. This is pretty much done. And he's just like, oh, crap. Okay, sorry. Like, I didn't know it was going to go that way. And so I struggled, but I did go home and I told my husband about it. Same second ex-husband. And he's like, oh, yeah, I took him for that kind of guy. I was like, oh, okay, well, I missed that. And I said, okay, so what do you want to do about it? He's like, nothing. He said, you're a flirt, so I can see why he picked you. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I was curious. And so I did call the guy the next day or two. I said, hey, did I do something to encourage you? Like with our friendship, us communicating, us chatting, going to lunch with, like, did I do something specific to give you the green flag? He's like, no, you're just cool and you talk to everybody. If you're flirting with me, you're flirting with the women too. He's like, which is kind of hot, but I know you're not doing that. So it's just one of those things that's just like, now Bo knows I'm social and he doesn't, and I know everybody. So he doesn't take any meaning by it. There's been a time he's had to step in because somebody wouldn't take no for an answer, which was an interesting ordeal. Patrick, what have you got? You came up on here to say something, sir.
Yeah, I've never been the controller, but I have thought things were going on or something, because it just seems like I always choose the wrong ones. But they
That's
take
a
advantage.
skill. It's a buildable skill. Don't worry.
Well, they take advantage of me being so nice and stuff. But like my last ex-wife, my son and I, we didn't have Christmas. She would leave for 2 weeks and go to her mom's or her friends or whatever, and go out on every other night. And I was not allowed to go with. I had to stay home. My disability check, I only get $700 a month. I had to pay the bills, and if I didn't have enough for cigarettes or gas, I went without. Even though she made $2,000 a month, you know, it was her money. I had no business asking for it. She would go out on a Friday night with male friends and female friends she was by, and not come home till Monday. And,
Oh, that's a little bit outside the boundary.
and if I asked anything about it, like, is there something going on? I was told that it's none of my business. Nothing's going on. And even if it was, it's none of my business. I'm her husband, not her boss, not her owner. But now me, if I go to the store, I talk to everybody. I mean, I can go to the store and sit there for a half an hour and talk to somebody I don't even know until then. And I'll leave with a friend, having a friend now. But I would go to the store. It's only 2 blocks. If it took me more than 10 minutes, I was cheating.
Talk about being a minute man then. Jeez, Patrick.
She would go to work. She worked nights. She would come home in the morning. I did all the housework. Well, I'm disabled. I can't work. So
Right.
I
know.
I'd do all the housework, everything. I was not allowed to tell her kids to do anything. If she told them to do the dishes when she left for work and they didn't do them, I was not allowed to say anything. Now, those were my stepchildren. I was not allowed to say anything. My son had to do it if they didn't do it.
Oh, wow. Well, hopefully you're not in that relationship anymore. That's been some time, hasn't it?
5 years, but the funny thing is, when we left Utah, we went to South Dakota. My son and I went to South Dakota after my brain surgery, and when they put the tube in my neck, and we moved up there, and in 2020, right in April of 2020, Christmas of 2020, my ex-wife showed up in South Dakota from Utah. She found out we was in South Dakota My son was at the casino bartending, and he calls me up and goes, "You ain't gonna guess who's sitting here at the bar at the casino." And I said, "Who?" And he goes, "Your ex-wife,
Oh,
you know,
wow.
mom." And she had followed me up there. Now, we had been separated for 2.5 years, no contact. We have a protection order that says no contact, right? Um, I put it on her. Um, so she comes up and says, "Well, she never cheated on me. Yeah, it looked that way, but she did that just to make me mad. And then when I got mad, she left. That was the end of it." I was like, "Wait a minute. So you did that to make me mad, then dumped me because I got mad, which is the reaction that you wanted in the first place."
She sounds stable.
Huh?
She sounds very stable.
She sounds like a lovely woman.
I don't understand why you aren't married to her anymore. Jeez.
Well,
Oh my gosh, Patrick, that's a lot to deal with. So that's a lot of isolation. That's a lot of
here's,
emotional abuse and mental torture, really. So, and I mentioned that because in the chat, Margaret asks, and this is for all of us and for those in the chat, when you become isolated in a marriage like that, where you've got nobody to turn to, no friends, no social system, or no support system, rather. Once we get out of those relationships and you can start communicating and having those platonic friendships again, is it difficult to re-engage and socialize?
well,
Does
I
it
was,
how does it upset the confidence?
well, when she showed up to South Dakota, I was talking to a lady in South Dakota for 3 years. I supposedly had a chance at a relationship, never kissed her, never nothing, because I respect a woman, not until she's ready or whatever. And um, provided Christmas for her autistic daughter and everything else. And when my ex-wife came up, she wanted to get back together and try it again, and said that I was wrong, even though we've been separated for 3 years. I was wrong for even talking to anybody else because
Whoa.
I waited for her to figure things out and figure out what she wanted. And so for me talking to somebody else 3 years after she left me was wrong. I was cheating.
Oh.
So yeah, it's not just men that are doing
No, I
it.
agreed. It's not. It's a two-way street for sure.
And the
Um,
hard thing is, if I asked, or now if I went out, like I won't even, because of the relationships I've had. If I have a friend like my old rodeo buddies, if they came to town and they wanted me to go out to a club with them and I was in a relationship, I won't go unless she goes with me.
right.
Not put myself in any situation where I could even be accused of cheating, because she also, I was out with a rodeo buddy of mine who's in town, and we went out to dinner. No alcohol or nothing. Or no, there was alcohol. We was at a club, and I was with him. He was with another girl and her sister, or her daughter. Sorry, her daughter. And they were sitting there at the same table as me. Well, my ex's friend, who I hadn't met yet, saw it. So then a couple of days later, my ex-wife introduced me to her friend, and her friend's like, "Oh yeah, I saw him at the club the other night with two girls and a guy." I was accused of cheating.
Yeah, it sounds like there's pretty much consistency there.
So I don't.
You bring up cheating, and Robin has something that kind of builds off of that. Is that sometimes it's hard to know what healthy relationships look like when you're raised by two cheating parents. That's all you see and know. So and I think that's a good point when you don't have a good example growing up of what a healthy marriage looks like, let alone healthy friendships. That can be difficult to be able to trust those platonic ones in a
Well,
current relationship.
I have never cheated, and I don't like to
Sure.
lie.
Well,
Don't
that's
lie.
not that's not even that's okay. It's just trying to
Uh,
how do you come back from all of that, and how does your self-esteem and your confidence how
well,
what hit does that take, and how do you build it back up?
my thing is, like, my idea of trust is when you're in a relationship, you gotta trust the other person enough that, to me, I look at trust as, if you're my friend, or my girlfriend or what significant other or whatever, I should be able to trust you to tell me anything, even if it's bad, even if it hurts, even if it makes me mad. I should be able to ask you anything and you tell me anything, whether it's good, bad, or not, you know? And it always, I don't ever understand why, if a woman asks a guy if there's something going on with this girl or what's going on or this or that, it's okay. But if a guy asks a girl, hey, I went to go bring you lunch the other night at work and you were in a car with another guy eating lunch, you know, in your car with him in your car with you, is there something going on? Now I am being controlling and accusing, and I must be a cheater because I'm accusing her of doing it. I'm trying to hide it.
Yeah, that's how those people work. They're doing it. They're going to accuse you of doing it. It's hard to get that trust back once it's broken. It might be time to move on to the next relationship, which it sounds like you definitely moved away from that one. And Robin, yeah, I can totally understand. It does keep you second guessing on so many things. Maybe it's not an issue for most people. It's hard not to get suspicious. It can be. It certainly can be. I know I've seen several people that have to try and get past that. Kathy, what about you? Did you have a hard time after your ex and all of those shenanigans? And some of those stuff you can relate to with Patrick to a certain degree with the trust issues and
Well, mine told me that nobody else would ever want me because I'm disabled and I can't work. And
yeah, well, she's
I
old
heard,
news
I
now.
heard that. I heard that, and I don't have a disability except I can't hear. If that counts. So, no,
bet
but I
Dakota-
know what that feels like. They want you to feel. They want to make you feel inferior to them and make you feel like everything that you do is because of them or have is because of them, and you won't be able to make it on your own. And it's all manipulation. That's all it is. And you have to learn. And I was just chatting about this to a couple of the people here in the chat. You have to learn to finally put yourself first and realize that you're important just like anybody else. You've got to take care of yourself and find a way to get out of that. It's hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's very hard, but it takes a lot of courage and a lot of faith and a good support system like we're talking about. So,
well, a lot of people don't realize men go through it too. It's just we don't say it. We don't talk about it because we can't. You know, nobody wants to hear it.
Well, I don't know. That's a broad statement. I mean, I can't say that that's true for every. I mean,
Because
there's a lot of men and a lot of women that don't come forward and do anything about it because they're afraid.
Yeah.
They feel trapped. I was that way for more than half of my marriage. I was married for 17 years, so I felt trapped and because he made me believe that with all of his manipulation, I couldn't do anything by myself. I couldn't be myself. I couldn't have fun. I wasn't worthy. Basically, is how you feel when somebody's doing that to you. So yeah, I agree with you, Katie. I don't think it's every person, every man, or every female. It does happen across the board. I think in all aspects.
It does.
Well, it doesn't really matter. Well, I'm gonna say, hey, Tara, I love your hands. I wanted to say,
I'm glad somebody finally said it.
I'm like, you have the most lovely hands I've ever seen, and I'm glad that you're showing them.
I will explain this in a moment to the chat. This is not some weird fetish, and I'm not on OnlyFans, just so we're all clear.
I just had to say that because I saw the comment.
I had to highlight it because he told me he was going to say that.
So, Tara, you be in commercials, the Palmolive commercial with that.
Yeah, you could totally be like a model.
You're egging him on.
Do they still have pants? Do they still have?
I don't. Probably do. You know,
commercials. Remember the old dish soap commercials in the 80s?
Yes, I do. I do remember those. That's funny. I am not a hand model, but it turns out that I have a strong following for it, apparently. So, yes, I'm supposed to show my hands. I will. I'll explain in a little bit. We can go back to the subject.
Sorry, I digress.
That's funny. And Kathy with her, I'm glad somebody said it. Like you've been thinking. I've been waiting.
It's actually like
my mouth shut, so you know.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Which is what I was gonna say as far as the like I got into so many disagreements and fights with my ex-husband about all kinds of bullshit, but I would put up with it, but also say what I thought, and it would just
Not you. I thought you.
No,
surely you're not bold to say what you think.
no, not at all.
Not at all.
No, here's what's funny. I mean, yes, I've always kind of been that way, but my ex-husband did kind of like kill me inside. Like I didn't feel like myself at some point into the marriage. And you recognize it, you see it. I know Kathy's been through it. Like I just knew it, but I'm going through it and I have kids and I'm trying to figure out like I can't live the rest of my life like this. Like I told myself numerous times that. And then finally it was scary for me to just basically ask for, the divorce. And it was rough for a period of time for sure, but he wasn't the person in control anymore. I was in control. And then we flipped scripts.
Once you finally take control of yourself, it's like the best feeling ever. Because you've not had it. You've kind of been prancing around, walking on eggshells, making sure everybody else around you is happy. And when you finally make time for yourself and take control of yourself, it's awesome.
What I will say too is that when Aaron and I got together and then got married, and I don't know several situations probably occurred. And then we would have conversations, but he was just like, it really shocks me that you are the person that you're describing in this previous relationship. And I feel like I'm married to someone completely different because I would like, and it was joking, like, fuck you. Like, I mean, I don't know. It was kind of joking, but we would have those discussions and I probably did not have the patience and I wasn't going, and it comes from my upbringing as well. Like no man's going to tell me I can't do it. I'm going to do it. And, my ex-husband kind of killed that for a long period of time. And I was a different person when we first got together. And then he was like,
yeah,
are you the real Katie? Or is this like a different person? Like he was kidding, but yeah, it took me a while to.
So is there, with your current platonic relationships, what are the boundaries you guys have for those? Can you openly talk about your current marriage situations? If you're looking for a guy perspective, if you're looking to vent, what are the do's and don'ts right now that you guys are, or maybe the do's and don'ts you struggle to find coming from the relationships that we all did?
Can I touch on what somebody just said a minute ago, that once you get out of those kind of relationships, it's a relief and everything? In my case, like the girl that I was talking to in South Dakota for 3 years with her daughter, she said that the reason why we couldn't be in a relationship is because I'm disabled and my son has to do some things for me because my left hand doesn't work, and medical issues and things like that. But when you get out of a relationship like that, like I've been told so long that I'm not good enough looking, I don't have enough money, I'm disabled, everything else. For a while, it was a relief, but now it's just like, I wish I could find somebody. But then I'm told I'm too old or whatever, I'm too disabled, and so it's like I would, there are some days where my son gets mad at me because I've even considered taking my ex-wife back and putting up with it because I don't want to die, alone,
Understood. Yeah. Understood.
It's like, should I go ahead? I mean, sometimes it feels like nobody wants a good, decent guy anymore if he's disabled or whatever. I didn't ask to fall off a windmill at work, I didn't ask to die 30 times in the last 13 years because I fell off a windmill at work. And it's like, but it's held against me. And it's like, I would put up with the abuse just to have somebody to love,
Right. Yeah. You'll get there.
I mean, my son loves it. It's not the same,
Yeah. You'll get there. But I'm glad you touched on that because that can be really difficult to try and grasp as you're getting your self identity, your self-esteem, your self-confidence back. That's got to be a big part of trying to create those healthy boundaries inside of a healthy relationship, because you kind of have to be healthy yourself to get into those things.
Especially when you're in a new state and a new town,
Yeah.
and then
Right.
don't know anybody, and then people find out I live in elderly housing because I qualify because I'm disabled.
Yeah.
But
Um,
and I don't have a big head. At the beginning of the video, he was trying to be my lap dog. He's 145 great trying to.
That's how they always end up.
Huh?
That's how they like to be. Is they giant dogs? They like to be lap dogs.
A little for that.
So Kathy and Katie, jumping back over to the question, what do you guys do what are your boundaries with the platonic? Do you even have to put them out there? What is that like?
Well, that's what I was going to say. And Kathy, you can, I think it's just kind of a non-spoken, I don't know. We haven't sat down and discussed it. He knows I have guy friends. I've heard him talk about girls that he works with, not necessarily friends. We have conversations, but we haven't sat down and, although I have messaged Kathy before about something I wasn't happy about. Boundaries, I mean, I do think that they need boundaries is such, to me, I don't know.
I think the word that fits this better is just respecting how your partner feels about certain issues, if it's an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Eric and I don't have issues having friends outside of each other. Like him alone, he's got so many connections with what he does for his work. Female, male, all sorts of different people and all over the country. So me coming into the relationship knowing that is helped me understand who he is, and I accepted that and I trust him. And I think as long as the trust is there, and you have that open line of communication, if you have problems and you want to talk about them, I think that's important too. But we don't really have boundaries, so to speak, because we have trust, I guess.
Well,
I think I would challenge that, because I think you do have boundaries, but I think you guys just are so similar in your expectations and in your efforts in the relationship. The boundaries probably just seem like common sense.
True. Yeah. And we both have very similar backgrounds. We've both been married twice, and our exes are the same things with our ex-spouses. And so coming into this relationship in the very beginning, we knew exactly. We did the trial and error the first 2 times. The third time is you're supposed to get it right. So
third time's a charm. Everybody needs at least one practice marriage.
Yeah, we came into this knowing what our expectations were. We made those clear. We had the same goals and the same dreams for our future. And those are the things that made our relationship important, is we had those same aspirations and the same respect for each other. So it made a big difference, I think, with the trust overall with each other.
So do you get any messages that are inappropriate from males?
Me?
So what do you?
No.
No, Katie.
Mm-mm.
No, I definitely get messages that are inappropriate from my longtime guy friend, and I tell him exactly what I got, and I'll show him.
That seemed to ask and answered in Katie's.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
Okay.
I got them while we were still kind of in that dating stage, but I haven't gotten an inappropriate message in several
Okay,
years.
guilty of that. I do. So like, I don't have any boundaries because, of course, I'm not in a relationship. But if I was in a relationship, all I expect is trust me, and I'll trust you. Oh, be honest with me. Don't hold my disabilities against me. But now they also have to understand that I do. Well, I grew up as I raised my son by myself, so I have a lot in common with females. So a lot of my friends, they live in other states, but we do text and call and things like that. And they're my friends and they're female. And yes, they send me really raunchy text,
Mhm.
but like I've told, some of my exes have been okay with it because I tell them straight up, that's my friend. That's just how we talk to each other. It means nothing,
So I'm
And they
glad
have,
you.
and
It's
they
really,
have different.
yeah. It's
So
it's interesting that you bring that up because I do have a couple of friends, and I adore both of them, male and female. The one of our friends has moved several states away. The other one is still here. They were never in a relationship, and she will send pictures of herself in a bikini to him. So to me, I don't send pictures of myself in a bikini to my guy friends, let alone Bo. Um, so I'm curious, is that for
Inappropriate.
some
It's inappropriate.
I've never
but
done that.
but neither one are in a relationship. They're both straight single
So
individuals.
neither one are in a relationship.
Yeah, neither one are in a relationship. And so he's thinking like, oh, I must be a good guy friend. She trusts me to see this. I'm like,
She wouldn't be
That's a
sending
booty
it if
call.
she didn't.
It's called a booty call.
Yeah, exactly.
it's kind of
No.
what. But you can't convince him of that. And there's a background to all of this. Very sweet guy.
I'm
But
friend.
that kind of thing, right? Those are the kind of pictures where they could be innocent or they could be suggestive, but typically they're suggestive, right? They're designed to get a message across, and hopefully you pick up on the message. And the next thing you know, we've got a booty call situation, right?
Yep.
I have a female friend that has come and visited me in other states, here since I moved here, but who has come and visited me, and she will sit there and go jump in the shower, get out of the shower, walk into my room completely naked, climb into bed next to me, and go to sleep because she knows that there's nothing there. I'm not going to touch her, and or do anything. And she feels completely comfortable around me because we've been friends for so long.
See, I've got long-term friends, and we've had Ryan on the show. He was on before we officially launched. I adore Ryan. He's one of my closest guy friends, but there's no way in hell am I crawling into bed naked or otherwise. I'm just not. So I guess that's definitely a personality thing or
Well, she knows she can trust me not to do anything.
well, right. I get that. There's definitely that trust there. But if I'm going to bed naked, there's action.
There's a
supposed to be.
reason.
Yeah,
Well,
I have
There's a
an idea
reason.
in mind. I have a goal. I need that goal met. I
I've
would
known
think is that typical? If for those in the chat
I've
is
known her
Patrick
for 7 years.
right? No, I get that. There's a really long-standing relationship, and I've not heard of that before.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if maybe I could be naive, Patrick. And so maybe there's other people in the chat that are like, oh, hell yeah. I mean, if you've known them for forever and it's completely platonic, there's no way. Or maybe you did try with that person and not you, Patrick, but just the chat, and it just didn't work out. So you just have I mean,
Well, I've
is
known her
that
for 5 years, and we have had relationships before. We
yeah.
were 4 times, but she also is 11 years younger than me. So
So run for justice. Women don't get naked for nothing. Trust me. That's where I'm at. If I'm naked, I have something in mind. I'm just saying. Just turn on Marvin Gaye and let's get it on. I'm just saying.
sorry, I'm one of those kind of kids where I won't touch a woman unless she, you know, unless it's a mutual.
Well, so if she's getting into your bed naked, that seems pretty forward to me, and she's wanting something.
Especially if you've been there, done that. You're like, oh look,
Right?
it's part. The sequence is here. The sequel is here. Let's go for it.
When my son, you know, when he was growing up, he would take his diaper off and crawl in bed with me naked. I mean, you
That's a
know,
little different. My kids do the same thing, and then they pee the damn bed, but that's all right.
he's 24, still does it. I'm kidding.
So
No, but
Irish says, Irish thinks it's almost impossible for a man and a woman to be friends long term. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people say that they just don't believe people can be close friends. And with somebody like Ryan, my friend Jason, there's quite a few of my guy friends out there. The ones that I will see and hang out with, no, I don't see that ever being only because I've always been in with somebody. And to be fair, Ryan's much shorter than I am, so I'm pretty sure that he wouldn't like. Ryan's like, oh God, I wish Ryan was listening because I don't know how tall he is, and I don't want to screw it up. But they're kind of like brothers or cousins. Like there's a familial type of bond there, I guess.
well, like the girl I was talking about that I've known for 25 years, she just got married like a month and a half ago. But she will tell you straight up if my son was to call her and tell her I was in the hospital fighting for my life again, her husband has to understand she'd be in her pickup driving from Arizona all the way to here.
Sure.
You know, and he would have to trust her. But
Yeah. So I just think it's interesting the platonic relationships that are out there, the relationships I've been in. The health of my relationship determines the ability to have the platonic friendships outside of that. But with Bo, gosh, there's not except for the one occasion there was a reason to be concerned and it was taken care of. But I don't know. I'm not attracted to everybody. Just because I hang out with somebody a lot doesn't mean I'm attracted to them. Sometimes I just flat out enjoy their personality and they can tolerate me, which is even better. I can be a lot of information. Nobody disagreed with me. I was waiting for a friend to be like, no, you're great, Tara. That didn't happen. This is awesome. I'm going to take myself and isolate myself tonight.
No, you're great, Tara. You're great.
Too late. You just like my hands. That's what you like me for is my hands.
I'd love to have friends here in this town where I live now. You know where I live, Tara.
I do.
Yep. But it's kind of hard because, I mean, there is one lady okay, now this is funny because there's this lady at Walmart and she's a sweet little lady. She's younger than I am, and her husband knows, but I call her my Walmart wife. Every time I walk, I can go anywhere in Walmart. She'll find me and go, hey, just say hi to me, or see my son and run over and go, where's your dad? And, she told her husband, he's like, hey, if that helps you get through your night at work, fine.
That works. I know the work wife, the work husband's a pretty popular concept.
Well, I don't work, so she can't be a work
right.
wife.
No, I get that. No, for other people, that's another thing is I know when Bo changed jobs a couple years ago and his quote unquote work wife. And I don't know if I labeled her that way, if she did. She's a good friend of mine because when he wanted to vent to somebody, that's who he'd go vent to. It was her. And then she would vent to him. And to me, it was funny because I'm like, that makes total sense that is your work wife. Like that is flat out appropriate right there. But there was nothing ever. The only thing they were griped about was their work, not anything else, which I think is what those quote unquote work spouses are all about.
Somebody told me I should be friends with some of my neighbors and go hang out with them and stuff, but there's a problem with that is because even though I'm 51 years old, fixing to be 52 on the 25th of November, Me and my son are the youngest ones in this apartment complex, and I'm not allowed because I don't qualify to go to the senior center for the dances on Saturday nights with everybody
Aw.
who's 70, 80, 90 years old. And they won't let me in bingo because I'm not old enough.
Oh gosh, you're in just a strange place.
They keep putting a notice on my door that says, come hang out at the senior center for bingo. And I went, and they said, you don't qualify. You're not a senior. I'm like, but I live in senior apartments.
Oh
You
my
put
goodness.
invited me.
Just real quick, because I think this is hilarious, and Margaret is awesome like this. She finds ways to align directives in the conversation to what the conversation is saying. And she says, "People don't forget to support shenanigans and punch that live button like it's one of your exes."
Okay, now, wait a minute. There was another live where they kept
Oh my
saying
gosh!
like button, and I broke my like button.
Oh no,
I hit it too hard. It doesn't work anymore.
it's too funny. So no, it's yeah, I thought that was an interesting topic to bring up, considering what I saw on Facebook, and I did comment on that post on Facebook saying, if you have to go to a Facebook group or social media to ask people to message your significant other because you need to know if they're talking to somebody versus just going to that person and talking to them, what have you been tolerating throughout the duration of your relationship that you can't just communicate that? You
See,
can't just say, "Hey, what's going on? I have concerns." And if you don't feel like your concerns are being heard or addressed properly, then why are you still there? And I
okay,
get why
so
we're still there because we all get in that relationship, right? Where we feel like we're going to tolerate forever.
now don't get me wrong. I have an issue where if you're in a relationship, you shouldn't be, in my opinion, you should not be going to other people to discuss what's going on. Even if it's your best friend, you shouldn't be going to other people to discuss what's going on in a relationship. You should be able to discuss that unless it's dangerous, but you should be able to discuss it with your significant other because for one thing, when you go talk to somebody else, they're going to be biased because they're only getting your side. They're not getting the entire
Oh,
story.
not my girlfriends. We have a group chat of us girls. The Shenanigans crew has a group chat, and I chat with Kari and I chat with a few others. And the reason I love hanging out with these women is because I can say something and they'll call me out on my bullshit. But that's
Right.
something we can do with one another and especially if I feel like maybe I'm doing what other, like, here's the situation. Here's the things I've attempted and tried. Yes, we've had these discussions within the relationship. I'm still missing
I guess
something. What suggestions do you guys have from your experience or just from your creative thought
since I
processes?
was raised old school.
I think it's important to have an outlet outside of your marriage and people that you trust, like friends, true friends that you have.
Yeah.
If you didn't have your friendships, that's what friends are for. That's what true friends are for, is to be there. They have your back. They're there to listen, to help, maybe not give opinions, just mainly just to listen. You need an outlet other than your day-to-day person that you're with all the time. You need that outlet. It's important. And not
but,
everybody goes to therapy. So we lean on
Yeah.
our friends for that purpose.
but I was always taught that if you have a problem with somebody, you go talk to them, not somebody else.
Well, see,
That's
that's the thing is
sure.
I know there's situations where even if it's a healthy relationship, you can go talk to that person and you don't see quite, it's not a fight, it's not disagreement. You don't see quite eye to eye. Maybe it's something that's personally difficult for that person to manage and to try and work through with you. And instead of continually putting that back out on the spot, you go back to your inner circle, your close cohort, and say, all right, this is what's happened so far. I'm not sure what to do. And he's a little embarrassed. He's a little insecure. He's just not ready for it. What can I be doing? And I do believe that's a very healthy thing, is to look at something and say, okay, um, I'm going to have to try to do something a little bit differently, but I don't know what. So um, I think that's a really good thing to have, is those people you can get different ideas from, or if you know you need to be called out on your bullshit, to be called out on it.
Well, that's why I like that you guys allow me in the shenanigans is because like I'm new here to this town. I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
You know, medical history and things like that. I don't have support groups. There are no support groups for the physical injuries that I have. I'm the first to ever survive. So there are no support groups of people that know what I feel every morning when I wake up and every bone in my body cracks and creaks.
Sure.
Um, Nobody else has the metal aorta and the metal.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's you've got a lot going on in the experiences that you've shared and the difficulties and the challenges and the disabilities there. I don't think anybody knows anybody else in the chat that has those things that compare to you, Patrick. So it is very unique. But I'm
Well,
sure it would that means you're going to have to take time to find the right support system too. And it sounds like your son's a really great foundation for it.
well, and this group really helps me. If you'll notice, I message you or and
Yes.
Kari like 10 times a week, going, "When is the next live?"
I do get a lot of those messages, and I'm extraordinarily. I need to start sharing them with the crew. I'm afraid I'm going to annoy the girls with it though, because there is a consistent flow of individuals that say these conversations, even if they're just in the background, to hear somebody say something they feel on the inside, and to hear it spoken in word. I've
And
heard
it's like,
that it means a lot to somebody who don't feel they can say it for themselves, and so it's the whole point of the show, Patrick, is to give that space and to give that little bit of a little push towards healing. That it's a little teeny tiny tap of a push, but it's still a
even
push.
if it's just chatting in the chat, because I I wake up, I take my son to work, I come home, I go pick him up, I come home. That's it. That's all I do.
Yeah,
Well, I play PlayStation, but I'm disabled. You know, the doctors say it is good for my hand-eye coordination.
that'll
Um,
work.
I only have one hand that really works. I can catch the other one on fire and just sit here and talk to you like I am right now while it
I
burns.
prefer you didn't. I mean, I know that would get me a lot of views on this channel, but I don't want to go that route. I know somebody will report me for something. So let's not prove that point. Let's just go with the theory that you're correct on that one.
Son teases me because one time he will not allow me to cook, even though I can cook, unless he's home. I was making pancakes one morning when he woke up, and he woke up because he smelled something burning. And I'm sitting there with the skillet, and I got the pancake batter in the skillet, but it's not cooking. And I had my left hand on the stove, and my son comes in. I'm like, I'm just getting frustrated. I'm getting stressed. He could see it. He goes, "What's the matter?" I said, "I've been cooking the same pancake for an hour, and it will not
Ah,
cook." And he goes, "Well, what's burning?" I said, "Definitely not the damn pancake." He looked
ah.
down. I had the wrong burner on, and I had my left hand on the burner just
Oh
cooking,
man,
and I never felt it. So
that's amazing.
he won't let me make pancakes anymore.
I'm sure I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. And Maxine, that's a great point. And that's the point that people make to me. It's good to know that we aren't the only ones. Oh, we lost Patrick. Uh-oh. He'll come back. See, I think that's the thing. You feel like you're not alone, that somebody else has been through it. Um, Somebody else understands, and that sense of being understood, I think, is really important when it comes to healing and knowing you're not weird and um you're not bad. There's other people who experience it too. There you are, Patrick.
I don't know what happened.
It just dropped. It just dropped.
No,
See,
please,
that's
I don't want to be dropped.
no. So I think that's what made this so interesting. Is I know there are several people out there, and I'll give you a really good example. It's a personal example with my current relationship. When Bo and I were first dating, we worked together, and we were very quiet about our relationship because we had the same boss, and we knew there were some situations there that could cause for one or both of us to be terminated. So we were very careful, and we really weren't technically breaking any policy within the company, but it's just safer to keep it quiet. And so, but I did know that he had been single for a couple of years, and prior to me, his ex Um, just Robin. He did tell me that he had dated another gal at the bank. Now we were at the corporate offices. The gal previous to me worked at a branch, so we didn't see each other every day or anything like that. We didn't talk. There was no interaction whatsoever. Didn't bother me a bit. I knew that they would text, though. I knew they still had communication. Given his position at the bank, there was still a need to communicate. I was fine with that. And then because of the comfort levels, there would be some questions, but they weren't inappropriate. He was always sharing screenshots with me about the conversation, no big deal. And then I find out that there was somebody had told me that they had said that the ex wanted to get Bo back, that she was interested in rekindling the relationship or something along those lines. And I was told, shut it down. Shut the relationship down, shut the communication down, shut it all down before it all goes downhill and fights get started and you guys break up and she steals off with Bo. And I thought, no, I'm not controlling that way. And if he really wants to go back to her, that's for him. Eventually, and we, like I said, nobody knew at the bank that we were dating. So this gal did not know. She had no, and it was really difficult for Bo to try to put out there that he wasn't available, because that would lead to people wanting to know things. We were keeping it very, very private. So we didn't even tell anybody either one of us were dating. There was a very select few at the bank, maybe 2 or 3 that knew. And that's how I found out about this ex-girlfriend wanting to get back with Bo. And so eventually there was a rumor that got started at the bank. It was completely unrelated to us, something about some sort of bank policy and somebody being in trouble or something rather. I had found out about this rumor, and then Bo told me on a different occasion. And then his ex found out that I knew. So, and because his ex is the one who told him the rumor, she goes back to Bo and says, why did you tell Tara that of all people? And he says, well, when your ex tells you information or texts you, it's best practice to tell your current girlfriend, because by that time I was leaving the bank and we were becoming more public with the information. And then she stopped texting him after that. So for me, it was like he had to make the decision to be trustable, to do the right thing, and to keep things as clear and as appropriate as possible. And again, he showed me all the text messages, and he wanted to be sure that I knew there was nothing to worry about. But I knew in the background, I knew what she's trying to do, and I didn't tell him that. I was just like, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. We're only about a year, like we weren't even a year. I think by the time everything got said and done, it was like 2 years. No, it wasn't. It was like 8 months in, because I had left
Okay,
shortly after.
I have a question I need women's point of view on.
The answer is yes. I don't know. Go ahead.
Oh God, please don't tell me that.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
Okay, so my last ex-wife, I've only been married twice. So my ex-wife, my last one, you know what happened with my first one, the mother of my children, she
Right.
left. But my second one, okay, so she worked nights as a CNA. She would come home, and even on her nights off, I wanted to go out and do movies. I wanted to, even if we just laid in the bed and played PS4, PS5, or cuddle or whatever, because I wanted to spend time with her. You know, she worked 12-hour nights. She'd come home in the morning. I'd meet her at the door with breakfast and say, I love you. And she'd like, leave me the bleep alone and go to bed. Well, then on her nights off, she would sit on the phone all night long. And I wanted to spend time with her. She'd sit there for 8 hours on the phone. And I kind of get a little upset about it. And she told me that even if I was downstairs on the couch watching TV and she was upstairs talking on the phone, we were still spending time together because we were in the same building. That was quality time. We were in the same building, so that was spending time together. And that frustrated me.
Well, sure, I can understand that. I don't know. I wouldn't call it quality time, but to each their own. For me, that's not. But I mean, just sitting down watching a movie with Bo is quality time because we're together and it's just relaxed time and chill time, and that works for me. So
I was wrong for wanting to do that.
she's just not the right one. That would be the wrong one for me.
And then she got mad at me when I said, okay, so if I go to the cafe down the street and I'm in the cafe and the waitress is in there and there's three women sitting in there. I'm cheating on you, right? Because I'm in the same building with three other women. She kind of got mad at me for that one.
Yeah, can understand. She sounds pretty consistent. So, well, I think we're over. We're about an hour and 15 in. So, Katie had to jump off. And you guys know how Katie is. She just disappears into thin air, and then we miss her, and that's how that rolls. And so, and Bronwyn and Amber were not available tonight, but I think Katie she sent a message to us saying that she thought this might need a part two, like to try to continue the conversation. But I kind of want to see it evolve into a little bit more in depth. Where it sounds like we're going to go back into the narcissistic personality stuff and the controlling personality stuff, and so we
Like
may
my
have to, yeah, just like all our exes. So I think that's what we may roll into again is kind of bring up some more of those narcissistic personality stuff. We'll see. I know that we have had a couple of requests come in. Somebody wants to talk about the social. Oh, I don't even know how to put it exactly, but that social lens about weight, people who are too heavy, who are too thin. I have a nurse friend that wants to come on panel and speak to that from the expert point of view. And then I know somebody has asked that we talked about neurodivergence, those who are on the spectrum or have been diagnosed as being autistic. And then there's been one that somebody wants us to talk about restraining orders, protective orders, those kinds of things, what they mean, and when have you filed one and how'd that work? So we've got a lot of we've got some show requests. So we've got some more coming up. So next week we may continue this one. I'm going to talk to the girls, and here in a couple days I'll know.
I've been diagnosed as crazy because I rode bulls for 10 years.
I think anybody that would ride a bull's crazy, but it's a good kind of crazy. It's appropriate. I know. What do you think, Kathy? I cannot. Oh, you're muted, hun.
I am muted.
You
sounds
are.
good to me. Yeah, new fresh topics. Yeah, sounds good.
I got an idea for a topic. How do you meet people in a town when you're new and you don't drink? You don't go out.
Go to Facebook and go find their chatter group, and then ask that question there because they'll know that town better than anybody.
I'm not going to speak to religion or anything, but some people would say church, find your friends there, find friends there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've had the same problem with some of the churches I've been through here that I have in the apartment complex that I live in.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest there.
Yeah. Well, just go to your Facebook group, and for your town, there's going to be a chatter group on there, and just ask and see what happens, and then let us know what you find out.
If you notice, my son shaved me finally.
Yeah, that's good.
I can't shave myself because of the
Right.
Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. All righty, folks. Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Thank you, Patrick, for coming up and being brave.
Can I say a funny thing about the Christmas holidays and having Parkinson's, please?
Yeah, go ahead.
This happened to me. Actually, it's happened to me for 3 straight years. I go into Dollar General around Christmas and they're playing the Christmas music. And I have Parkinson's disease, so I shake and tremble sometimes. And I was trembling and they were playing a Christmas song. And this little old lady come up and grabbed me and started dancing and said, "It's so nice to see young people in the Christmas spirit dancing in the aisle." And I'm like, "Ma'am, I have Parkinson's disease."
No. No.
Not dancing, I have Parkinson's.
No.
It was kind of embarrassing.
Well, hopefully they won't make that mistake again this year, Patrick. But yeah, go to that Facebook page and see about what's there for you. I'm sure there's something is, but thank you guys all for being here tonight and for watching. And we will be back next.
But you've seen my drawings on my Facebook?
Yeah, they're good.
I need ideas for some more drawings.
Excellent. We will have to get you some, but I think we are gonna call it a night tonight. So Patrick, thank you again for coming up and being so courageous and brave to share your experiences. I know that means a lot to people to know that you're willing to come up here. And We will be back next week, Kathy. I don't know who's going to be joining us, but we will be back. You guys keep an eye on the Facebook group. And
it helps me. My son keeps me locked up in the house. So
well,
he's at work.
right.
Blaming on him.
All right. You guys have a great evening. Thank
Have a
you. We'll
good
see you
night.
later.
Bye.